Social media is their reality.
Yeah, if I'm feeling down, then I'll look on those things and they'll just make it worse.
They have designed their algorithms and their networks exactly to cater to human pathology in its most extreme forms.
I originally set out to make a documentary that explored the possible positive benefits of diminished or controlled social media use. What I actually uncovered was something far, far darker.
Now, we've had this guy, Tusk. He's the elephant in the room. Tusk! This fella who is the president of the EU Commission, Donald Tusk, and he's come out this week and said that there basically should be a special place in hell for those who promoted Brexit without even a sketch of a plan of how to carry it out safely. This is spoken by a man who, with his dark suit unelected colleagues, has spent the last 2 years or more, certainly 2 years, seeking to throw spanners in the works of Brexit at every opportunity. And he also complained that there were not enough leaders on the side that wanted to stop Brexit. Well, what do you mean? There was a referendum. The public decided by a majority to come out. So what do you mean, leaders to stop it? It was a referendum. But of course, these guys have no interest at all in Britain coming out. So we've now reached this point. Now, you'll probably know more by the time you hear this, because Theresa May is going out to Brussels to meet with these characters and try to get the current deal, which has been rejected by Parliament, changed to the point where the parliamentary majority can get it through. So this is where we are as I speak. You've got Theresa May, the Prime Minister, putting forward a deal for Parliament to vote on to come out of the European Union. When we're hurtling towards the official exit day very quickly in March. Parliament voted that down by a massive historic majority. So she says, I'm going to go to Brussels and I'm going to renegotiate it to try to get something that you'll vote for. Okay, fine. But this dark suit mafia like Tusk and Juncker, when he's compos mentis, which is not very often after lunchtime, they're saying we're not going to change it. So what you'd say then is, okay, Parliament won't support it, you won't change it. So what's going to happen is when the deadline day comes in March, Britain is going to leave the European Union without an agreed deal for trade, etc., with the European Union. Okay, that's what's going to happen. Except that Parliament also voted against leaving the EU without a deal with the EU. So let's work this out. May's deal is voted down, yep. The EU won't, as they're saying at the moment, won't renegotiate, so the deal can't change. But we can't leave without a deal because Parliament says we're not going to have Britain leaving the EU without a deal. So work that one out. And it's a mess. Of course it's a mess, and it's meant to be a mess. And the hypocrisy of people like Tusk is extraordinary. These arrogant people who are have never seen a ballot box where people can vote for them, trying to tell everyone else how they should live their lives in fine detail. And to have someone like Juncker running this bureaucratic tyranny across the whole of Europe, when his consumption of alcohol is legendary, is typical of the way power over people's lives has been handed to these despicable people. Now, Jeremy Corbyn, leader of the Labour Party, well, he has been prevaricating about Brexit all along. He has been, in his political career before he became leader, was very, very against Brexit. Against the European Union. But since the Brexit vote, he campaigned to stay in because the Labour Party around him insisted on it. And the situation now with the Labour Party is that they are, they basically don't really have a position, except they don't want to leave without a deal, which is part of this whole kind of straitjacket that I've just described. However, this week, you can see it on davidicke.com, under the headline, "Proof that Corbyn hates the EU, video shows that Labour leader branding the bloc a military Frankenstein and the European empire of the 21st century." Now, I mean, how could anyone who's observed the EU not think that that was a sensible position? It is a European empire, and it is a military Frankenstein, and wants to become, more so with its European army. It's interesting to watch the video, the clip of Corbyn's speech, because you see the difference between someone outside of political leadership and people in political leadership. And this is the story. Jeremy Corbyn's hostility towards the European Union has been laid bare in a newly unearthed video recording. In the extraordinary footage, the Labour leader attacks the Brussels club, branding it a European empire of the 21st century and a military Frankenstein. The footage will be a severe blow to Labour Remainers, of which there are legion in the political party, not among the public level of the party, branding it as a European empire of the 21st century. And the Remainers want to overturn Britain's Brexit so that we stay in the European empire of the 21st century. Dating from 2009 and obtained by a left-wing website, the Red Raw, the video shows Mr. Corbyn mocking the concept of holding repeated votes on the same issue. He was addressing an audience of Irish activists the year after the country rejected the Lisbon Treaty by 53.4% to 46.6%. Corbyn warned them that he expected officials to refuse to accept the result and to keep on fighting against moves to augment the EU's power. Don't scrap your posters, he says. Don't recycle them because you're going to need them for a third referendum. And, of course, that's exactly what turned out there. Another referendum and overturned it. And his speech is very good. But the point is this. Why do you have one view when you are a backbench politician, not in opposition hierarchy, or not in the government, and another when you become leader of the Labour Party? Why? Because it's expediency. And what we need urgently is for people in politics to say what they think and stand for what they believe. And if people don't like it, well, fair enough, they have a right to not like it, but I have a right to say it. But instead, this is how politicians who go into politics with some genuineness, wanting to make a genuine difference, it's why they get sucked in. They get sucked in by compromise after compromise after compromise after compromise, to the point where what they stood for before they went is no longer visible. It's gone. It's been compromised out of existence. And, you know, what's Corbyn? Was he late 60s, early 70s, something like that? I don't know. That kind of, you know, ballpark, as they say. How old do you have to be before you just say, sod it, I'm going to stand up for what I believe? And if that means that, you know, these people say this about me or these people don't support me, well, fair enough. But the point is, I'm going to stand for what I believe is true, what I believe is fair, what I believe is just, and I'm not going to compromise that for political expediency. Because a group of still Tony Blair worshipping Labour MPs and EU worshipping Labour MPs and Israel worshipping Labour MPs are going to be hostile towards me if I say what I think. There is no point in going into politics unless it's to do what you believe is right. So here we have the real Jeremy Corbyn, unless he's been now taken through the perception program transformation. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he hasn't. Here's the real Corbyn saying what he thinks about the EU, and then you have the prevaricating Corbyn saying that we mustn't leave the EU without a deal, and putting spanners in the works, because they have. What should have happened is that the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, forget the Liberal Democrats, they're a lost bloody cause in terms of the EU and almost everything else. But the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, the government, should have come together and said, look, we've had this referendum. The people have said they want to leave. We are the people's representatives. Whatever we may think about it, we are there to serve what the public have decided and to implement it, not to throw spanners in the works because we don't like it. So what we're going to do, you and me, opposition and government, is we're going to go to the EU as one united voice, and we're going to say we are going to leave the European Union at the designated date in March. This should have happened 2 years ago. And we want a deal that's beneficial to the European Union and to Britain. But if we don't get a deal, we're out without one. Now that would have been crystal clear. And the dark suits in Brussels would have realized that we weren't messing, and there were massive consequences coming for the European Union and its economy if a deal wasn't agreed. Now, what you would have seen would have been a completely different negotiation. But because Corbyn wouldn't do that, and because the Labour Party wouldn't do that, the waters were muddied, and the aces in the negotiations were all handed to the bureaucrats. And now, of course, it's at the moment, things may change, but at the moment it's game, set and match to the bureaucrats. The situation we're in with this straitjacket. And like I say, for Donald Tusk to say what he said when they have worked to that end is